talk about this fucking week?
Sure.
Welcome to the Squeeze Podcast, Season 2.
Okay.
There's been a lot happening since Season 2 is being recorded. This is Greg. He's a fan favorite.
Hello.
I'm also married to him. So, do you want to talk about this week?
Where should I start?
I don't know. Should we do day by day?
Well, I'll go ahead and, not bury the lead. Like, I was notified 2 days ago, I believe it was, that my role is being eliminated and I have 3 months to find a new team or I am or will be laid off.
Oh, yay.
Yes.
So, okay, that's a big hit for a week, right? Like,
It is.
but what else happened this week? My little company told me I had to move, and then they were like, no, you don't. And that was Monday. Then I went to Barbie Land. Awesome. Then Tuesday morning.
And you found out you, in fact, do have to move. You have 2 real options and a possible.
Right. That was what we saw.
Yeah, and now we're down to 2 options,
Yeah.
one of which is not an option, and the other is 3,000 miles from.
Yeah.
I mean, anything.
Yeah. So that all happened before Thursday when Greg's job was eliminated. So, like, this has been the week of weeks. I say that the millennial villain, if you want to understand the millennials' villain story, just look at them trying to have a career. Like, I'm just trying to have a career.
I agree with that.
Can I please just have a job and some stability?
Yeah, but I think if baby boomers want to know why millennials won't be supporting them in their old age, it's look at how their career arcs have gone, and they'll answer that question very quickly, I think.
Yeah, well, we can remind them.
Good luck in the home, eh?
I am only laughing right now as we're talking about this after many, many tears this week. Like, I'm so dehydrated.
Gallows humor is, it's helpful. It's therapeutic, I suppose.
And I worked in my robe yesterday. Like, I did not put clothes on yesterday. You're aware of this.
I mean, yeah, they didn't really, these organizations didn't really deserve much else than that.
Yeah,
much better.
That's fair. But one thing I keep going back to that makes me feel a little bit better is that, unfortunately, both of us have lost jobs before.
Yeah.
And look at us, so successful.
Multiple times, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, because we have been there and gotten to the other side of it, I'm, like, choosing to focus on that. It's like, I know we can do this. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how shitty it'll be in the meantime. But, like, I know there's another side of it, right? Like, but I know that you tend to be like, I don't feel that optimistic.
I feel differently. For me, it's been a stop-start career. I won't even say it's an arc. It's more like a sine curve.
Nerd alert.
Well, look, you Google it, you'll see. It makes sense here.
Sine, cosine?
Sine, yeah. So it's like up, down, and then the average is the same. It's the 0.
Okay.
I feel a bit of annoyance because of the circumstances. Largely, each situation is different, but the most recent circumstances are intensely annoying. They're not based in sense, and we're told that these companies that it's the best of the best, and these such intelligent people work here. And then you see them make decisions and take actions that are cartoonish and clownish. And
you always say, like, Greg walks around the house going, these people aren't serious.
Unserious behavior. It's like anybody who's like an immigrant parents, they'll know that terminology. Like, unserious behavior of your age mates is not to be tolerated. And this is exactly what this is, especially when you have these very rarefied companies that have a very difficult recruitment process. The bar is very high. The wall of the garden is very high.
As one of my friends that's in the college admissions and access world, instead of calling them highly competitive colleges, he calls them highly rejective. So we work at highly rejective companies.
That's accurate. That's accurate. And companies that are known for, as they like to say, the best of the best. And look, at the end of the day, you expect a certain level of decision-making ability and the quality of those decisions. And when you don't see it, you start to question why the bar to get in was so high, why they're so rejective, why the demographics are so skewed, all these things. You know, there are people on the outside that could do a much better job than who's inside. And you gotta start asking some real serious questions about
the gatekeepers
and why this particular gate is being kept.
Yeah. We talk about our tech jobs as being life-changing.
They are.
And so I still encourage people to go that route, or any route that gives you like that financial footing to be able to dig yourself out of a hole. Like we both have college debt and all kinds of things, but like that has at least helped us because we both started out in nonprofits. Greg got an MBA, went into corporate. I spent 15 years in the nonprofit sector before I was like, oh, this isn't gonna work. I need to figure something else out. But yeah, so this week has been crazy, but there's something different this week, or actually in this last year, that I want to point out to you and see if you agree. So there was a time when you lost a job, and it was the first time that we lived together. We were in New York, and talk after work every day, and all of the things that Greg was telling me were like red flags. Like I felt like I knew what was coming, and when you lost your job, it hit you like shocked. And I was like, it was not shocking. Like I saw it. So
I mean, to be fair, at the time, both my parents were like actively dying. So I didn't see some things. This time, yeah.
So that's what, like, you have been saying for at least 6 months.
Oh, more than that.
Okay, well, more than that. Like, they're pushing me out. They're doing this. Like, and so I actually want now you to talk about, like, what are the things you should look for and recognize as signs that something's not right, so that you can start to like activate your network or do whatever it is.
Okay.
So like, I'm ready.
I was hired to fix a problem that was made by the lack of anybody who does a particular type of work that I do.
Okay. You're hired for an expertise.
Yes. Hired for expertise. Did a lot of work to undo a lot of the rat's nest that had built up over time.
Okay.
Created systems to prevent that from ever happening again, and then built a system to improve upon the way we were doing business, so that we actually went from laggards to leaders in this space. Okay. Last year, almost to the day, that system was scrapped by my team. We just said we're just not doing it anymore. The rationale was, it's not a tool that we use. It's not a tool that we use. That's why
we have all these
things were broken, and this is fixing it, right? Okay, so that happened. 6 months.
So, okay, let me put that in different words. We're like, okay, so the project or the program or the thing that you have been building or implementing and doing is suddenly like, you pivot away from it. Now that happens all the time in business. So like it doesn't always mean that, but like, that's like, okay, if we are no longer going down this route, but this is the thing that I mainly do, that's fine.
The analogy I would use is, let's say you have a sink and it falls off the wall because it's only nailed into the drywall. And then somebody comes and puts screws into the studs. And then you say, no, we don't use screws in this house. We're not doing that anymore because we only have hammers here.
Also, that's a true story. We found out that
the hard way when a sink filled with water and laundry fell off the wall on the 3rd floor of my house. So
but now it's screwed into the studs. Don't worry, everyone.
Yes.
It's fine.
So that happened. So it's even more ridiculous than the analogy. It's absurd. So 6 months later, my manager notified me that I would now be reporting to my peer. We're the same level.
Not just your peer.
A peer who
you helped get promoted.
Promoted up to my level.
Greg started, they were at stair step level.
Yep.
Greg helped
this person
get to his level.
And then my manager slotted me under.
And you don't even have to ask. You should already know. Yes. All the things you're wondering about the demographic we're talking about. Yes.
And both of these people were the 2 people who were around when the system was broken, built the system that was broken that required me to be hired a number of years ago to fix. I came in, cleaned the mess up, and then got slotted in under the person who created it.
Yeah. So again, getting slotted under or like peers becoming your boss, like those things happen, right?
They do.
But like, again, we're adding these things up. It's like the culmination of these things all together. It's like, ooh.
Yep. And so those 2 things, they happen, especially to minoritized populations. This is a common occurrence. And then the more tactical interventions started. So I used to have one-on-ones with my manager, as everyone does. They used to be on a weekly basis. My new manager put them to a bi-weekly basis, and they were no longer one-to-ones. They were meetings with my manager, my former peer, and my skip level with my former manager. So it was a 2-on-1.
Yeah. So it's like, if this person is supposed to be my boss, how come they aren't able to actually be my boss?
It gets even more messed up because I have a direct report. And my one-to-ones with my direct report got hijacked so that my manager joined the one-on-ones of my direct report, to which I'd said to my direct report, this is unfair to you because these calls are about your career, not just the job, not just the tactics. So we let my manager have his fly on the wall moment. And then we set up an additional one-to-one where, it wasn't performative. And we were talking about his career projection and the scope of his current work as it relates to where he wants to go in his career.
But see, that gets to more so to like people often are looking at their career and they're looking at you as the resource to help propel them.
Correct.
And so there's no investment in you as a person that also has a career trajectory. You are just like the person that delivers these things for me.
Right.
And so there is a big difference in that kind of relationship. But
yeah, and it gets even weirder, actually. So of course you'd imagine that I'm disinvited from meetings with our senior leaders, meetings I used to actually run, schedule, run, and control the agenda for. All of a sudden, I am not being invited to them, and the way I found out was actually kind of comical. I think it was in a group chat with the team. My manager put into the made an announcement to all of us and said, "Okay, drop any agenda items that you have for the meeting with this leader into the agenda document." And I checked my calendar for this meeting, and I realized I wasn't on the meeting invite. I wasn't there. It wasn't on my calendar. I reached out to my direct report and, found out that was confirmed, doubly confirmed that was the case, and responded back to the team, I wasn't invited to that meeting. So, of course, they hastily scrambled to get me on it, but there were other meetings.
Pretending like they
Exactly.
done that.
Other meetings that I wasn't invited to, conversations where my background and expertise were critically important, that I wasn't made aware of, and other people let me know that they were happening, and I would feed them information so that they can have the conversation they needed to have with a cross-functional team, things like this.
So you saw these things in real time and slow motion probably, and we're able to name them, talk about them. One of the things, though, that I think is also different this time is that you have built, I call it your fan club, but you truly have an incredible network of not just peers, not just people that are at like younger in their careers, but also senior leaders.
Yep.
And you have done that in a way that's like not transactional or something, like truly, you know, you host time and you make time available on your calendar. And I think I see a difference in like what it feels like to lose your job and have people rally for you. But how are you experiencing it?
I have seen a pretty remarkable activation of my, we'll call it a network for now, right?
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. Let's speak specifically internally for now. Coming in the door, we knew that this company was like the scorpion from the parable of the frog and the scorpion. That even if it was going to harm itself, it was going to sting the frog, because that's just in the nature. So day one, came in building a network, building relationships more specifically.
Yeah.
Up, down, and sideways. I am an ERG lead.
That's an employee resource group.
Right. You know, been very active as a mentor for new employees and more junior employees. Have actually started 2 internal groups with a membership totaling about 1,000 people. And I have made my calendar open for, you know, anybody who's part of the ERG. And the hashtag we use is drop anything on my calendar, because hashtag family first.
I will say too, the companies that we work at, yes, they're still like very like heavily white male and even heavily white female. But when you're in a global company, even if the numbers are small, you're still able to connect across all of the boundaries that, like, if you just work on Wall Street in a specific building in a company, you don't have the same access to like all of the different folks. And so I do think that that is a difference too.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. So there are a lot of really brilliant people, a lot of really accomplished people. There are a lot of people who are really well connected, pedigreed, and a lot of them are going through the exact same gaslighting, the exact same layering that I experienced towards the end of my tenure here. So the idea.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's a value in having that network, or even when we're geographically dispersed, especially the people who are in the Bay Area. I feel for them, really. It's really important to have that network, even if it's virtual, because there are people who are catching hell every day, and that's like their only
comfort, or like
that's their only window into normalcy, to say, oh wait, I am capable, I do know what I'm doing, I am intelligent, I am not this, problem child that all these other tech girls are telling me that I am.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have left teams and then gotten promoted upon arriving at that new team because the gaslighting was so bad on their existing team.
Yeah. And that's why I also push back when people are like, oh, this person has a bad review from their current team. And I'm like, that could be that person, but it could also be they have a terrible manager and relationship. Like, you cannot take those things at face value. And I feel like I'm having to educate people about that all the time. And I'm like, obvious. Like, think about it.
Oh, listen, look, now I'm a manager here and seeing how the sausage is made, listen, it is wild to consider how fly by night and unsophisticated the process is, even though we dress it up and put all kinds of algorithmic excuses and fig leaves over what's going on. At the end of the day, it's all vibes when you get in that room, and when you're talking about stack ranking people based on their performance. It's actually probably the most disturbing part. I think that was the point at which my head turned and said, oh, this is no longer the place for me.
I used to do Instagram Live, and you came on.
Ask a manager.
Probably, ask a manager. I don't know, maybe 6 months, maybe a year into your new job, and you were still in the like top performer honeymoon phase. Like, you were getting results, you were building relationships, you were knocking it out of the park. It was the best. You'd said the best boss you'd ever had, the best like career job experience you'd ever had. So I just want like to put it on the record, like, you can go from that to then it going downhill, because I recognize it as, because I've seen this happen with people beyond just you, is that when you are no longer the valuable entity that you were to your boss, if your boss is somebody that is really all about like their career and making sure that they have safety or that they can get to the next level, then as soon as you are no longer like what they need or a resource, or if you actually get so good that you're pointing out things that like they're kind of like don't talk about that, we're not trying to fix everything for real, then you can become the like impediment. Then you can become like, you went from like the superstar to like the issue,
or pet to threat.
That article. If you Google pet to threat, Black women in the workplace, you'll get the article that we're talking about. But I want to acknowledge that, because if you have been listening, or maybe you're new here and you go back and listen to that conversation, you're going to hear Greg at like this, like there's excitement in what you're doing. You're like,
praise.
And so just want to put it on record that it can be both, and it doesn't always just maintain.
It's not just downhill, it's a cliff. It just happens one day. It's not as though there was anything that led to this. There was no precursor. It was, things are great, the leadership is getting what they want for the first time. I had a direct line of communication to them, and then all of a sudden one day it changed. It went the opposite direction. It wasn't gradual in any way whatsoever. It was just, okay, we're done here now. And that was that.
I think it's time to wrap up, because we've talked a lot about this week, all week. This is more I've laughed about it than I have all week, though. So yay. Anything that you want to share? Closing words?
You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
That's fair. That goes with your relationships, right?
You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. That's it. That's the end of it. That's first, last, and always.
Okay. Thanks. Cheers. Love you.
Cheers. Love you too.
Now I've got the juice. Time to put it to use.